This is HB Vibes, your home for shocking and emotional war stories. Hit like, smash that subscribe, and let's dive into the drama. Sophia Lancaster had everything the world envied. At least, that's what they said. She was the daughter of one of the most influential business families in the country. Her name appeared in glossy magazines, her face lit up television screens during charity galas, and her wealth could buy almost anything. But on this cold evening, as she stood on the edge of a bridge with the icy wind cutting through her silk dress, Sophia felt she had nothing. Her hand rested on her swollen belly. The child inside her shifted softly, as if reminding her that life still existed within. But her heart was too heavy to feel joy. Everyone she had trusted had let her down. The man she thought she would marry, who had promised her forever, had left the moment he discovered she was pregnant. Business partners whispered behind her back. Even her so-called friends had turned cold, treating her condition as scandal rather than blessing. And here she was, billions in the bank but emptiness in her soul. Rain began to drizzle, dotting her flawless makeup with streaks she didn't bother to wipe away. She leaned forward, staring at the dark waters below. For a moment, she imagined silence, freedom from gossip, betrayal, and loneliness. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Maybe it's easier if I just..." But before she could finish that thought, a low, rough voice interrupted the storm inside her. "I wouldn't do that, miss." Startled, Sophia turned sharply. Standing a few steps behind her was a man with ragged clothes, dreadlocked hair damp from the rain, and a tired face that carried years of hardship. He looked like someone who belonged to the shadows of the city, not here, interrupting her moment of despair. Sophia's first instinct was anger. Who was this stranger to intrude on her private suffering? "Leave me alone," she snapped, her voice trembling between anger and pain. But the man didn't move. His eyes, though weary, were steady and strangely kind. He raised his hands slowly, as if to show he meant no harm. "I don't know what you're going through," he said softly, "but I can help you." Sophia almost laughed. The absurdity of it, a homeless man, soaked in rain, claiming he could help a billionaire heiress. "You," she scoffed bitterly, "how could you possibly help me?" But even as she spoke, she couldn't ignore something in his gaze. It wasn't pity, it wasn't judgment, it was something she hadn't felt in months, genuine concern. And for reasons she couldn't explain, Sophia stepped back from the ledge. The rain grew heavier, forcing them to move beneath the broken arch of the bridge. It offered little shelter, but it was enough for words to pass between them. The man removed his thin, worn-out coat and draped it gently around her shoulders. Sophia wanted to refuse, but the chill made her accept it. The coat smelled faintly of smoke and dust, but the gesture warned her more than the fabric ever could. "What's your name?" she asked cautiously. "David," he replied. His voice carried the weight of someone who had spoken to very few people lately. They sat on the cold concrete. David told her his story, not in self-pity, but as if confessing a truth. He had once been a carpenter with a small business, a wife, and a daughter. But after a tragic accident and mounting debts, his world collapsed. His wife left, his daughter grew distant, and soon, he lost everything. "I thought about giving up many times," he admitted, looking at the raindrops pooling on the ground. "But every time, something small reminded me to keep going. A smile from a stranger, a meal from a kind soul, the thought that maybe tomorrow could be different." Sophia listened, silent but moved. For the first time in months, she found herself speaking honestly. She told him about her loneliness, her fear of raising a child without love, the betrayal that had shattered her trust. "I have everything," she whispered, "yet I feel like I have nothing." David looked at her gently. "That's because the world measures wealth in dollars. But real wealth, it's in people who care for you. And tonight, I care enough to stop you." Her eyes filled with tears that no storm could hide. For a long while, they sat in silence, the sound of rain filling the gaps between their breaths. Then David spoke again, his words steady and clear. "Money can build houses, Sophia, but love builds homes. Your baby doesn't need perfection, it needs you. Alive, breathing, trying. Even if you stumble." Sophia pressed a trembling hand against her belly. The child kicked lightly, almost as if responding to David's words. For the first time in months, she didn't feel entirely alone. "How do you still have hope after everything?" she asked softly. David smiled faintly. "Because hope is the only thing no one can steal from me." His words struck her like lightning, illuminating the darkness she had wrapped around her heart. She realized he had nothing, no wealth, no comfort, no safety, yet he held on to the one thing she had abandoned, hope. That night, sitting under a broken streetlight with a man society ignored, Sophia felt more seen than she ever had in boardrooms or banquets. When the storm eased, Sophia pulled out her wallet, offering David a thick stack of bills. He shook his head. "I don't want your money," he said firmly. "You already gave me something, your trust. That's worth more than all this." Sophia froze. She was used to people grabbing at her wealth, exploiting her name. Yet here was a man with nothing, refusing what everyone else craved. Something inside her shifted, pride melted. For once, she wasn't a billionaire. She was just a woman, grateful for a stranger's kindness. "Then let me at least buy you dinner," she insisted. Minutes later, they sat across from each other in a small cafe. The waitress raised an eyebrow at the odd pair, a glamorous pregnant woman and a homeless man, but Sophia didn't care. Over warm soup and bread, they laughed about little things. How David once tried to cook and set fire to his kitchen, how Sophia had once snuck out of a gala to eat street food. The cafe was quiet, but to them, it felt like the world had stopped to let them breathe. That night, two souls from different worlds found a bond neither expected. The days that followed marked a transformation. Sophia returned to her mansion, but she carried David's words like armor. She began therapy, not ashamed of needing help. She wrote letters to her unborn child, promising to raise it with love, not fear. Quietly, she arranged support for David. Without revealing it was her, she made sure he had access to housing, clean clothes, and a chance at work. She didn't want gratitude, she wanted him to have dignity. David, now in a modest rented room, felt like he had been given a second chance. He applied for jobs, cleaned himself up, and began to dream again. But the memory of that rainy night, the billionaire on the bridge and the unborn life she almost gave up, remained his anchor. Sophia, too, changed. The emptiness in her mansion no longer haunted her. Instead, she decorated a nursery with warmth. She didn't look at her baby's future as a burden, but as a reason to live fully. Months later, Sophia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The room was filled with flowers, doctors, and well-wishers, but she requested one special guest. When David walked in, dressed simply but with pride, Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She held her baby close and whispered to David, "You saved both of us that night." David shook his head gently. "No, Sophia, you saved yourself. I just reminded you how." Sophia looked at her son, then back at David. She realized true wealth wasn't the billions her family counted. It was this moment, this bond, this reminder that even in despair, hope can be reborn. The story closed with Sophia rocking her child to sleep, her heart lighter than it had been in years. And outside the hospital, David walked into the city not as a broken man, but as someone who had once saved a billionaire by giving her something priceless, hope. If you felt the heartbeat of this story, give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to HB Vibes, where every story carries a lesson for the soul.